There's a lot of overlap, obviously, between powerlifting and the strength lifting and strongman and just training for fitness and stuff. Did you have like a favorite that you do for a while, then you start to get burnt out and switch gears? Were you doing a bunch all at once? Like, what was kind of like your trajectory moving through the strength sports?
I initially, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was standing post with a guy named Josh Clark, and he knew that I liked lifting. So he was like, he said, he told me before we were working, we saw the schedule, saw that Clark and Thrall were going to work together at this post, and he knew I liked lifting weights, and I knew he liked lifting weights. We were both new to this section. And he's like, Thrall, he's like, I can't wait to talk weights with you or talk barbell training with you or something all night long. And I said, sounds good, dude. And so we showed up to post, and he brought Printed Out 531 by Jim Wendler it was printed out from like T Nation.
Yeah.
And he brought that, and he was like, dude, he's like, this is the program you got to do. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen a program. Like seeing, okay, on this day you do this lift. And looking at it, I've seen like men's health programs, which is like squat, leg extension, leg curl, leg press, walking lunges, just a bunch of stuff. But I was like, so you just like do squats today and that's it? And then like maybe some assistance and he's like, yep, just focus on these main lifts. And anyways, so that was my first introduction to actual programming and training. And so I started doing that. Love the program, love gaming the program of I'm going to try to get these reps, I'm going to try to beat these reps in this progression. And so that's where I started actually following some sort of progression. Josh and his training partner, Josh Clark and his training partner, Carl Borges, they were into strongman training too. And they said, hey, there's amateur strongman competitions. And I said, what is that? And he said, have you ever seen World's Strongest Man? I said, yeah, I've seen that. He said, you can do that as like an amateur against other amateurs. And I said, dude, that's really cool. They were into strongman. Josh actually mixed an Atlas stone in his barracks room. He would mix in a little 5-gallon bucket, little patches of concrete, and then put them in. He'd bring them downstairs. He'd put it in a little mold behind the building, mix it in his room, put in the mold, and so it would like dry in layers, and it was like this Saturn-looking Atlas stone. But he was like, oh, you got to try to lift this. And I've seen Atlas stones on World's Strongest Man, so I was like, dude, this is really, really cool. I like this stuff. And so I found a competition and went to do my first strongman competition. And and then I just really got into strongman training. And so I would say first and foremost, strongman training was my first real love. And started running with that for a few years. Untamed Strength was going to be a strongman gym. I didn't really know much about powerlifting. I did a powerlifting meet, did a couple powerlifting meets, signed up for my first powerlifting meet, not knowing the rules, not knowing how it works. I just showed up, was totally ill-prepared, but had a good time doing it. Anyways, just started competing in strongman and powerlifting meets, mainly strongman competitions. And then it wasn't until probably 2016 that I had met Austin Baraki on Instagram. He is part of the Barbell Medicine crew.
Yeah.
They used to be starting strength coaches, him and Jordan Feigenbaum. And so I was coached by Austin. Austin wasn't a strongman competitor. He just coached strength, barbell training. And so I was like, hey, I want to focus just on barbell training and start doing powerlifting. So I started doing powerlifting for several years, didn't do any strongman. And yeah, just kind of went back and forth between the two. But there's not like a clear and concise timeline of my strongman and powerlifting. But I started with strongman, eventually moved on to powerlifting for a few years, did a strength lifting meet because that was there, and then went back into strongman training and started doing more strongman competitions.
Yeah,